Hello, welcome back to JK Survival Bushcraft. Today we're going to do a unveiling of the BPS Hunter set. I purchased two of these kits and I made a mistake. When I purchased these two sets, I had them engraved with our logo, not realizing that this was a 1500 limited edition run of a Fred Perrin designed set. So I probably completely destroyed any value, if there is any, in the future of these knives. However, I'm happy with that because what I received for the price is absolutely extraordinary. It comes with a little flyer that describes the collaboration between BPS and Fred Perrin. He's been doing stuff with them since 2020. If you're not familiar with Fred, he is a former French commando, bodyguard, national taekwondo champion, European full contact strike champion, runs his own school where he teaches a combination. He's trained in Kali, so I'm sure he's very familiar with Doug Marcadia. The BPS Hunter set knife is $89. Now here's my thoughts on spending $90 on a knife set, and then I will get into great detail on why I think for the price, you cannot go wrong for this set, especially if you are an outdoorsman who processes his own game. So the knife itself comes in the box, and there are two knives, each with their own sheath, and the sheath can be attached together at the top and the bottom. So let's do that. And it's actually pretty stout getting these on. I was very concerned at first that these wouldn't hold. I'm sure if you're in a combat situation, this wouldn't be ideal, but for the average outdoorsman, I think this is more than sufficient. Of course, this is new, but they actually hold pretty well. And it looks just like that when they're both together. And you would ideally use this set together because each knife is a specific size and shape for specific tasks. So that's the smaller of the two. It is 7.48 inches in length. This is the larger. It is 9.64 inches in length. These are both made from 5CR 14 MOV stainless steel. There's no issues with that whatsoever. The big one, this one here, is 0.10 inch thick. Kind of hard to give you a little perspective there. The smaller one is 0.06 inches. I have to put that into fraction terms for you. I haven't done that yet. Blade length, or the blade total length on this is 7.48 inches. This is 9.64 inches. The scales are Padauk wood, which I found pretty interesting. I've never owned a knife with Padauk wood. And what I've learned is that it comes from Africa, Central, and the tropics. They grow to 100 to 130 feet tall, 2 to 4 foot trunk diameter. Let's get you a close-up of that wood. It's actually really beautiful. I've never seen anything quite like it. I actually really like it. It has a Janka hardness of 1,710, and that would be almost equivalent to hickory, which is at 1820. So very viable as a scale. Typically you don't see too many hickory scales as far as hardness goes. These are brass, so it utilizes brass pins. I'm a big fan of brass pins. The wood itself has excellent rot resistance, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet and deteriorating over time. And it can be sensitive to your skin, however, so make sure you treat this with something. It doesn't always happen, but some people have been known to be sensitive to this particular wood. I'm not sure there's different brands of that as well, or different varieties of the Padauk wood, so maybe that's not what they've used here. However, if you take a good look at this, let's start with the smaller one first. As a hunter set, there's some distinct advantages with going with a thinner knife. One, you can make more precise cuts. It's easier to control, and I wasn't a huge fan of this shape and style until the past couple years, and this actually, I'm gonna wipe that off. This actually is almost like a paring knife. However, it is really, really good for slicing and dicing, and also when you're processing an animal, for getting into the parts of an animal's joints that you necessarily can't with a Nesmix style. And that's what the bigger one is. It's basically a Nesmix style. And I happen to really appreciate the up curve on this, as well as the larger belly. What that does when you're skinning game or processing animals, it gives you the opportunity to utilize a longer stroke. So, example, if you were to use this knife to skin a deer, your strokes aren't quite as long. They're not as soft as it necessarily is what a Nesmix style is. It gives you the ability to work a longer, larger area. I will say that this knife has grown on me quite a bit, and I can't wait for my first actual experience this fall processing a deer. It is labeled designed by Fred Perrin with his logo, and BPS knives with a steel and made in Ukraine. Once again, it is a stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about too much as far as a full carbon steel knife rusting. And these are rather stout getting in and out. They do fit very well in the sheath, very well in the sheath. And that's the total package. So I don't really think you can go wrong for $89 to get a sheath of this quality, riveted in the corners. Stitching is divine, good, thick leather. It does have the BPS logo on there. Nice sheath, definitely thick. I mean, it's close to a 1/4 inch thick. Great leather. They always put a spacer in there, which is great. The shape of the handles is quite interesting, especially on this. Now here's something that I think is pretty interesting on this. If you look at this smaller knife, there's an upsweep at the rear of the handle of the scales. And what that does for me is it fills up into my hand right up against the backside of my thumb and the meat of my hand. I was really confused about that until I actually started to use this knife, and I realized that upswell right here, while most people see an upswell on the downside where your fingers go in, there's a purpose for that. So Fred Perrin and BPS, and I've always said this, really know their shit. They understand the ergonomics of using a knife and what that's for. Look at how that fits in the palm of my hand. A good grasp, not necessarily like this. We're not in combat. This is being used as a game processor or field processing. But look how that fits, and it fits so nice right there. It gives you control, that extra control, especially with a thinner blade. Even if you put your finger on there, see how it fills that right there. It gives you so much control. So kudos to both of them, Fred Perrin and BPS Knives, for designing something that is not intuitive to most, but really is. And I'm not sure if it's the European background or not, but you don't find this. You don't find that on most American or Western knives. These guys know their shit. I'm very impressed with that. As far as the larger, I'm gonna have to say that while it feels small in the hand, I do not have big hands. It fits perfectly, especially with this cutout. There's no choil which is fine for me because you can strop or you can sharpen your knives without a choil. It comes straight back. These are flat grind knives with a bevel, which is what you want for this type of work. But these scales, it small, but gives you more dexterity in your tasks, which is what you need. And I think, this is just me thinking out loud, I think that comes from the fact that Fred Perrin has done quite a bit of knife defense work, which would lead to a knife that would give you that in a practical hunting environment. So that's my take on the Fred Perrin designed BPS Hunter set for $89. Quite frankly, you could easily have $89 wrapped up in just the sheaths. So you combination the design aspects of Fred Perrin and BPS together, their manufacturing on par. There's not a single thing that I have found on this set that would make me go, or I don't like. I am very, very happy with this set. So leave a note in the comments. Tell me what you all think. I think for your money, you can't go wrong. And even if it wasn't about the money, even if it was a $200 or $300 knife set, I would definitely buy this again for myself. Have a great day, y'all. And as always, keep your paddle wet and your powder dry.